What to do when you wake up feeling like a loser, when you wake up feeling like shit. I'll be the first to tell you that there are days where I will wake up and I feel like I'm in the basement of my life. Imagine if your state is like a skyscraper, and there's different levels to that skyscraper. There's the basement, there's the lobby, there's the first floor, there's 5th floor, 10th floor, 50th floor, all the way up to the penthouse, the top story penthouse. Imagine the top story penthouse is where you feel your best. It's the perfect day. Your energy's great, your mood's great, everything is just clicking into place. Your confidence is high. Everything is just dialed. We've all had those days. We've all had those days, and some people will have them more than others. But I think that it's very fair to say that many people will usually be somewhere in the middle, and very often, many people will start off in the subterranean basement and stay there. They'll stay stuck. Maybe they get to the lobby sometimes. And there's even another analogy. I like to use analogies just because I find that it gives you like a visual representation of this sort of mindset concept. Another analogy is a bit like if you're a vehicle and you wake up and you're in park, or you're in neutral, and then you have to go from neutral to first gear to second gear to third gear up to 5th gear, and the more gear shifts you make, the more momentum you create. And I think it's very normal for people to feel like when they're in the basement, when they're in that park or that neutral, that's just how your life is going to be, that something's wrong with you. And for a long time I felt that way. I felt like, is there something wrong with me because I wake up and I feel at times like a loser? I mean, there's many of you guys who will relate to this, who are successful, and you wake up and you do have doubts, you do have limitations, you will feel like a loser at times, you will feel like, man, I haven't done enough with my life. Like, I haven't done what I wanted to do. I'm not achieving what I want to achieve. And I think that's that double-edged sword, that tightrope that many high achievers will walk, that keeps them striving for more. But you can walk this slippery slope where you're never satisfied, and you're always rushing, and you're always on to the next thing, and you never take the time to just appreciate what is. And Ed Milet calls it blissful dissatisfaction, where on one hand you are blissful around the sense that, hey, there are some good things in my life. Maybe if you've been progressing, maybe there are things that years ago you would have been dying to have right now. As a former butcher, working in a giant cooler with alcoholics and making $15 an hour, I would have done anything to be at this point right now. Anything. It would have been a dream. And yet we find ourselves, when we're in the moment, we can get lost in that striving. We can get lost in that not enoughness. And equally, the notion, so blissful, but dissatisfied, where you want to strive for more, you want to achieve more, you want to keep pushing and progressing, with this notion that progress equals happiness. Like, if we're not progressing towards something, we atrophy in many ways, physically, mentally. But I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that there are not times where I wake up in the morning and I don't feel like I'm even in the lobby. And what I want to share with you is something useful, something tactical, because many of you guys are going to be able to relate to this. You're going to be like, yeah, I get it. I know like what it feels like to have a crappy day. But what you don't maybe understand is what it takes to get yourself out of that crappy state and into a better state. Any of you guys that follow me on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, and you see my stories every day, I don't post them for clout. Like, I don't post my morning routine or my workout routine or any of that stuff for to puff up my chest. I do it because that's literally what I need to do every day to get myself from neutral to first gear to second gear to third gear and up as high as possible. I have achieved physically what most people will never achieve in their life. I've even achieved financially and with my family what most people will never achieve in their life. And I can tell you, and I know it sounds cliche, but when you get there, it's not what you think. Yes, it's good to have it. Like, you want these things. You want to strive towards these things. But it's not going to fill that gap that you think it's going to fill. And I know this for even guys way above me. I deal with a lot of even higher level guys in terms of whether it would be in business or anything. And it's the same thing over and over and over again. I've talked to billionaires and they've said this, where they said things like, once I got it, it was cool for a minute, and then it's like, what's next? And there's still that hole. And I think in many ways it comes down to like these daily routines, rituals, and habits, where, I'm looking at my screen right now. In fact, I'll move my computer over this way so I can see it easier. And I'm not even going to edit this. I'm just going to roll. I'm just going to roll with you guys. And if you see me scratching myself, it's because there's mosquitoes out here. Man, they're going after me. But we ain't stopping. So I think the first component, when you wake up and you feel like you're in the subterranean basement, the first component is to hydrate. Very often I just find that hydration water, spring water, is kind of like the oil for your engine. If you turn your engine on, but it's got no oil or water in it, it's going to overheat. It's not going to run efficiently. So one of the first things you want to do is get some water into you. I normally have some amino acids, some mineral drops, some electrolytes, all that type of stuff. Obviously, you don't have to do it in this order, but this is just some of the stuff that I do. But one of the first things that I will do is I will move my body. You'll see in the morning, I'll do, whether it be Superman push-ups or some burpees, or it's usually something like a Superman push-up and some stretching, like some yoga poses and stretching. And what I'll do is I'll start off on my knees, because obviously if it's 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, or even if it's early for you, whatever that time is, your joints are going to be a little bit more stiff. So going straight into like full-blown push-ups and stuff can be a little bit like hard on the body. So I'll start from my knees, and I'll do like a warm-up set of Superman push-ups from my knees to get my shoulders, my elbows, everything warm. And I kind of like start ramping it up. So the second set of 10 will be from my feet, and it will be a little bit more progressively intense. And then I'll go into a third set and a fourth set and a fifth set, and each set kind of ramps and ramps and ramps with the intention of like making them more explosive and getting my heart rate up even more. Sometimes I'll do 15 or 20 at once. But by the end of it, I want to like really be pushing to get the breathing and the heart rate up. That's the key. That's the goal. It's not so much like a pump or I need to like do this to burn body fat. You want to get the breathing and the heart rate up. That's why breath work is so useful. So I'll do that when I get up as a gear shifting technique to literally, because very often you can't think your way out of the basement. You have to move your way out of the basement. That's why working out is such a useful tool. That's why getting outside in the fresh air in the sun and walking in the sun is such a useful tool. I do these things every day, not because, again, not for clout, but because this is the stuff that gets me out of that subterranean level where like the negative thinking will like just keep you shackled. And this is coming from someone who was formerly diagnosed with bipolar disorder, severe social anxiety, ADHD. I was heavily medicated on all those things for over 10 years, now medication free. So I have a background in this stuff, guys. This is not just like me just giving you some pro tips. Like, I've come from a very, very subterranean, dark place. And obviously, you're always going to face those challenges. They don't go away. You just get better equipped at handling them, and you get better at like stamping them out faster. Like when you feel it, you're able to like get on it quick before it turns into like a full freaking downward spiral category F5 hurricane, basically. So that's how you got to catch it. Another thing that I think can be really useful is be of service to someone else. So, like when you're in a hole and when you're in a sort of a dark place, all it takes is you just to send one positive message, like one written message, a little quick audio message, a little quick anything to someone else, giving them something positive. It's kind of like sunlight. You being in the sun, getting your vitamin D, is not going to take away from me getting my sunlight and getting my vitamin D. We can both get as much. And it's the same thing with like giving those good vibes. When you feel like you're in that hole, be of service. I've noticed that most of the time when people are in that hole, they're very self-centered and self-absorbed. It's just like me, all about me, my problems, my issues, me. Be of service and give to other people. Compliment, promote, share what they're doing. Like those little things go such a long way, I find. Such a long way. And then another one is remember a win. Like very often when you find yourself caught in these loops, it's because you're thinking about the bad stuff. You're thinking about the negative things. What I find can be helpful is focusing on a time where you had one of those good days, where you got to the penthouse, where you had that awesome experience, where you made that massive sale, where you connected with that awesome person. Like focus on a win and relive it in your mind's eye. Like truly relive it. Like go back there and remember how you felt. Remember how you kind of carried yourself, your confidence, the spring in your step after it happened. Get that energy back into your system. Like focus on that. And then the last component I find is I don't go straight into social media. I find that can be a real trap for a lot of people. They'll go straight either into their messages. I will not go into my messages for that reason. Or they'll just start scrolling. And there's lots of like showboating and winning. And it depends on what you're focusing on. But if you just see like people winning all the time, that's a good thing normally. But when you're in the hole, that's when you can start feeling like that lack and not enoughness. And so what I'll do is I'll intentionally not go in straight away. I'll get myself gear shifted through the physical processes. I might put something positive on YouTube first to kind of fill my mind with some positive stuff before I even go into social media. And the last thing, and this is something that I find has been particularly challenging for me at times with entrepreneurs, is that a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people are just like glued to their phone. They're freaking glued to their phone. They think, oh, if you don't answer your phone straight away, you're not a good entrepreneur. And most of the people that are glued to their phone, answering calls all day, just glued to their messages, they're fat and out of shape and unhealthy. They're not healthy people. And when they come to me, and then when I don't respond straight away, and they push back and say, hey man, you need to be more responsive. Why? So I can be like you? So I can be fat and out of shape and unhealthy like you? You came to me because I know something you don't know. And that's creating boundaries from this thing. That's what you need to remember. So part of it, man, is like creating a separation. Not being like so knee-jerky and reactive and needing to respond constantly. Give yourself some space. Because I find that can be such a useful tool, but at the same time, it can be such a trap where you're just like comparison, not enough, and you feel like you're not doing enough. When in actuality, maybe you're doing way more than the average person, but you're just not showing you their B-roll, that you're just seeing their highlight reels. So I just wanted to share that with you today, because this stuff's really important. It's important to know that even where I'm at, I will often start in the lobby. Sometimes I'll start in the basement. And I've come to recognize that that's just part of the human experience. And that it has taught me a lot about taking steps to shift gears and get up to that higher state. Because that's where you can serve people the best. And I also think to myself about my wife Lauren and my daughter Zia, in the sense that I want to give them the better version of myself more often, as much as I can. I don't want to give themselves a frustrated, pissed off, angry, resentful, low energy version of me. Because I have in the past. We all have. and we can all strive to be better, but it's going to take a level of awareness and these steps. So just know that we all go to this place, but if we stay there, that's a choice. So move through these steps, drop a comment and let me know what is something that's helped you shift those gears and get into that higher place.